What's going on? What's going on? Hopefully everybody had a blessed day because I definitely did. A lot of things accomplished. But anyway, so Bill Haney, actually before Eddie Hearn, it was before the Javante Tank Davis fight, and Devin Haney had his particular fight. Um, Eddie Hearn was talking about the Javante Tank Davis versus Cruz bout, and he was talking about how it was it wasn't as big an event as Jojo Diaz versus Devin Haney. He was basically talking about how the fight that everybody's talking about is between Devin Haney and Jojo Diaz, and he was talking about basically this is the bout of the weekend, and kind of basically downing Javante Tank's event, kind of pissing on it, and LRB got wind of this. People obviously told him this and showed him the video of him downing his event being downed by Eddie Hearn. So LRB he said lets people know obviously that hey these guys, they haven't even sold tickets necessarily like that. They sold like 4,000. He thought it was 4,000 tickets at the time, and he's like, we did that in pre-sale. He's like, we're sitting at over 15,000 plus right now. And obviously Javante Tank Davis, the ticket prices are substantially higher than the Devin Haney event, and and he tries his best to praise Devin and praise the things that Devin's doing. But when your fight is being consistently trashed by someone, and now also your events being trashed, yes, you're gonna have something to say. And it seems as if Devin Haney's team, they have this thing where they'll talk negatively about other people, but for whatever reason they don't expect negativity to come towards them. So you just gotta understand, if you're putting it out, you're gonna get it too. And LRB also said that, hey, when next week comes, we'll get the numbers, because at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. So if your event's supposedly bigger than mine, okay, let's see. Next week when the numbers come in, we'll see. And the next week came in. Their event ended up doing like 15,000. I think it was like 586 seats, something like that. And according to them, Devin Haney's event did about 2,600 ticket prices, which is basic, because you can have like 4,000 people in there, but you can have a bunch of tickets count. But I'm not sure what his numbers is. Regardless, even if it's not 26, if it's 4,000, okay, cool. Let's say it's 4,000. But I do believe it's the 2,600, just due to the fact that the entire upper deck was completely empty. And then it was like the bottom deck was almost like a horseshoe, because it was like a certain section that was also empty, So it wasn't like a full circle, a full circle. It was actually more of like a horseshoe, of people in the attendance, and everything else was completely blacked out, which wouldn't really matter. Like, who cares? It's still a great fight. I don't care. It was a great fight. It was a great fight that I was interested in. I knew JoJo was gonna bring in certain issues, and he brought those issues, but Devin was able to handle it. I knew he was gonna be able to get some shots off. He got those shots off, but it didn't phase Devin. I didn't like the way Devin approached the fight, because I believe he's trying to be something that he's not, in order to thinking that that's going to bring him viewerships and bring in more fans, but that's just not the case. You're just signed to the wrong people, and you're tethered to the wrong network. That's just what it is. But that aside, Ellerby also, one of the things that he said that was like, hey, when it comes to Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn's always going at him, he's always picking at him, always saying negative things about him. He's like, yo, this dude keeps, he takes it to a certain level, I'll smack the ish out this dude. If he says certain things to me, there's going to be certain things I'm not going to tolerate. Or if he brings certain things to me, I'll go and I'll smack the ish out this guy. So then Bill Haney on the show, he comes on, and what Bill Haney basically said was that, hey, when it comes to, he kind of mentioned, when it comes to Ellerby, him crossing the line, I guess to him crossing the line and saying certain things, he said when it comes to Eddie Hearn, basically that's somebody that he's making money with. So if somebody comes at Eddie Hearn in a certain way, he's gonna have to have something to do with it, implying that certain things would happen to that particular person almost, and what he's doing is he's putting Devin Haney in a really bad spot. They might not. It's easy to say these things now. But you're burning a lot of bridges when you're doing these type of things. You're tethered to a man who's burned a lot of bridges, and then you're sitting over here. Oh, I can't get this fight, or I can't get that fight. Oh, this guy's ducking me. This guy's ducking. No, It's not even that people are ducking you. You're dealing with someone. You're dealing with someone that's burned a lot of bridges. You know, a lot of bridges that you might need in the future. You know, all Devin is a tool that Eddie Hearn is using. When it's time to throw that tool away, he's gonna throw that tool away. If you don't believe me, go ask Tevin Farmer. A man who had built himself up to the point where he had the IBF belt, he had wins, and he had the opportunity to fight Gervonta Tank Davis on pay-per-view for $2 million. And Eddie said, don't take that fight. Go fight Jojo Diaz instead for $500,000. Because $2 million is not even a starting point for negotiations. And he goes and he fights Jojo Diaz and loses his belt. Didn't even have like a new contract set up with DAZN or anything like that. We haven't seen Tevin Farmer ever since. Haven't seen him. He had a rematch clause and everything. Never fought Jojo Diaz again for his belt. Haven't seen him again. When his time is done with you, he's gonna throw you away. And once he does that, where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go? What, these same people that you've been pissing on and trashing for years, you think all of a sudden now you're gonna work with them? You're putting yourself into a space where you're probably cutting off ties with people like PBC, with Mayweather Promotions, with Al Heyman, with Showtime, with Fox. You're putting yourself into a space where all these people probably gonna be cut away from you. You know, where they're not gonna be an option for you. You know, so like, what are you gonna do then? Because like they've said, right now, Devin's making good money. I think he'd be making substantially more money if he had went the other way and went with someone like an Al Heyman, stayed with Showtime. Because Gervonta Tank Davis was making substantially less money than Devin Haney. But he grew fast to the point where his gates were bringing in a substantial amount of money. Before he was even put into pay-per-view, he started doing big gates. Then he goes on to pay-per-views, now he's doing over 200,000 plus. All the money that Devin Haney made in his career, even though Gervonta Tank Davis started substantially lower than him when it comes to finances, he surpassed all that. He surpassed him when it comes to all that. You know? And he has no cap. The man just continues to rise. Devin is capped at what he can do. You know? He's capped. How much has he really grown when it comes to the sport? He's grown when it comes to social media. He's grown when it comes to people talking about him on YouTube. But when it comes to actually buying those tickets, when it comes to actually viewership, where is he at right now? And I'm not hating on the guy, because I'm letting you know this is a guy where I believe if he took the Earl Spence route, if he took the Gervonta Tank Davis route, if he took the Deontay Wilder route, he'd be doing 15,000 seats right now. Easy. Easy, with substantially higher ticket prices than he has right now. So it's not like I'm sitting here saying, oh, this guy, he's boring and people don't want to see him. No. No. And that amount of money that he's making, it looks nice. It's good money. Obviously, yes, millions of dollars, but believe it or not, I believe it's substantially less money than he actually would be making right now if he was tethered to other people. I honestly believe that. Just like with Terrence Crawford, I used to say the same thing, like, oh, he's getting $3 million a fight. I'm like, that's a bad deal for Terrence Crawford, because he could be making $7-8 million or more. And then we saw where Earl Spence went and what he's been making. And I believe Terrence Crawford could have been right there, but he tethered himself, I believe, to the wrong people. And you see how that whole situation ended up. Eventually, Eddie Hearn is gonna let go of that man. Or even if he stays with Eddie and Eddie stays in the market for the next 4, 5, 6 years, if he decides to do that, he's still stuck. He's capped. He's capped. He's only going to be able to go to a certain point, and that's going to be it. He's going to be sitting there searching and trying to get these big fights, and he's not going to be able to get them. Your promoter has an issue with even getting your mandatories to fight you. Your mandatories to fight you. And like they've said, you're getting paid double worth your worth. That means what you're worth is half of of what you're getting right now. That's not a good thing. I mean, right now it's cool, but long term, that's not a good thing. Even when it came to Canelo Alvarez, DAZN basically like, you know what, that's it. We ain't doing that number no more. You got to come all the way down here. How long is it going to be before DAZN does that to you? Or maybe, they're giving Eddie Hearn a certain amount of money that he's spending in the U.S. market, so maybe you'll be cool for a little bit. But where you're at right now, pretty much I think that's pretty much the cap. That's the cap right there. And when you have, how does this help you in eventually getting a fight with, let's say with the Gervonta Tank Davis? How, or other people that might be coming up to that 135 pounds, whether it be on Mayweather Promotion, whether it be on PBC, maybe a Rolly fight that maybe you could have even been able to do, with somebody that's fighting on Showtime and getting good viewership. Just long term, I think what they're doing is going to harm this kid. It's going to hurt this kid's career. And he's never going to be able to blossom into the superstar that he could have been. Just this consistent daily attacks, weekly attacks, on these guys. When you're doing a fraction of what they're doing, yet somehow acting like they don't know what they're doing, and somehow like you know what they're doing, and consistently trashing them. Consistently trashing them. It's not gonna turn out well. It's not gonna turn out well. But like I always say, as time goes on, as the future turns into the present, we'll see if I was right with my assessment or not. But for now, like, subscribe, share, I'm out.